Hi everyone, welcome back. So today in this video we are going to apply our own custom encryption in the VM that is running in Azure. Just to give you an example, for example, I've got two servers here. There's one client one and there's a domain controller here. So currently you can see that from the disks here, we have applied the encryption, our own encryption, which is server-side encryption with platform managed key and Azure Disk Encryption. So that means that we are not just trusting Azure in this regard, but we have also applied our own encryption keys. The other simple example would be if you just run normally in Azure, you have server-side encryption with platform managed key. That means the key is managed by Azure and they are responsible in terms of rotating the keys or whatever needs to be done. But let's say if you do not trust Microsoft and you want to protect your data and you want to apply your own keys, I have already done it on the client O1, which means that I'm using Azure Disk Encryption. And what it looks like, if you take a look at the extension, it will tell you that there's an Azure Disk Encryption applied. There's an extension there, and what it looks like in the VM itself, I have connected from the domain controller. So this is where the BitLocker, because by default Windows is using BitLocker to encrypt the data. And right now what we have done is we have done the OS and the data disk. So if there is E, F, G, whatever drives, it will be protected using the encryption keys that we have applied. So we're going to do the same thing, but for this domain controller. So currently you can see there's a C drive and there's a S drive. But this is not protected. It is protected, but it's using custom keys from Microsoft, but we want to apply our own keys, and this is what we're going to do now. I'll show you step by step. All right, so going back to, let's say if I go back to my domain controller, you'll see that in the keywords I have got here keyword which is named as Linux Plus, and I have got the keys that I've applied on the client O1 here, which are the keys here. So just to give you an example, I will create a new key vault. Key vault needs to be in the same location where the VM is running. In this case, if the VM is running in Australia East, then the key vault needs to be created in Australia East as well. All right, so let's begin. I'll show you a different way of doing it. So if we go to the disks here, and if I go to additional settings, so it says that disks to encrypt, we want to say OS and data disk. You can use only OS disk if you want, but let's say if we want to do OS and the data disks here, and it says select the key vault. Let's say we want to create a new key vault now, even though we have shown you that there's already one that is there. Both VMs are running in the same location. What this helps here is that it pre-populates the resource groups and the location, so you don't need to. So I mean, you can go from the key vault here and then create a new one, but then you need to know the information that you're filling in. For example, you put the resource group and all that information here, but if you start from the actual VM and disk data, you'll have all the information pre-filled in anyway. So if I do here, this is Linux plus 1 for example, and standard is fine for now, and it says DS to retain deleted vaults. So let's say even if the vault is deleted, we want to still retain it for 90 days. And if you say enable purge protection, that means that you won't be able to change anything in that after that. So for now, for testing, let's say I want to leave it as it is so that I can even delete it and don't need to retain it. So 90 days is fine for now. If I go to next, we leave as it is default. And yeah, this also default here. Tags are fine, but you can use your custom tags. So right now it is creating a key vault. It's not creating any of the custom keys that we need to use to encrypt the data. All right, so it should pass the validation and create. So this might take a minute. All right, so as we can see that we have created key vault, but we haven't applied anything yet. So if I go to additional settings here, again we are at the domain controller PC1. So if I go to the settings here, right now it says that, okay, do you want to create a key vault? We say no, we have the key vault, but we want to just select it. So we remember we created Linux plus one because Linux plus was already created before. But in this case here it says that keys. Now you can actually go to the key vaults. For example, here if I refresh it, which is Linux plus one, here if you go to the keys, one important thing to note here is that you're supposed to have an RBAC role assigned to you if you want to manage it, the key vault. Let me just quickly check what is my access here. Alright, so I have an RBAC access. I'll have another separate video where I'll explain what RBAC is and how it functions. So it's keyword administrator, and that's why I'm able to manage the keywords and the keys and stuff. So I can create a keyword and I can create the other keys and stuff. So if I go to the keys here now, I want to create a new pair of keys. Alright, so we just want to name it as Linux plus one, maybe one, just sort of keep it simple. It says that rotation set key rotation policy. So that's mean we need to, let's say I want to do automatically rotate the keys. Let's say if the key is compromised and we just don't want to stick with one key for a long time and we want to just keep rotating it for some time, and want to say that every 90, for example, days or 100 days, rotate the keys automatically. So that means that every 100 days there will be a new key, and just in case if it gets compromised, say okay. All right, so we're using the 3072 key size here, RSA. And RSA is fine here. You can go to even 4096, and that's up to you. And you can set your custom activation date and expiration time as well if you want to do like for limited testing. And say create. So this will create our keys that we can apply later. So if I go here now, go back to the and select the keys. So right now, because it needs to be loaded again, because we just created the keys now. So we were after Linux plus one, which is our key vault, and in this case there should be one key here, which is Linux plus one, and it will automatically assign one current version. That means if there's a next one, or if it gets generated after 100 days, then it will be a different version. It says save. Alright, so this is actually applying now. So this might take 2 or 3 minutes. I'll just pause the video now. It might take a couple of minutes. Alright, so as we can see here, so the deployment is succeeded, which means that we have applied the encryption. So if I go to the resource here, you can see that. Alright, so this is the resource here where the encryption is already applied. And what does that mean? So if I go back here and I want to go to my domain controller 1, and I want to go to the disks now here to double check what is the state of the disks. There are 2 disks at the moment now, so it should be, as you can see, there's a server-side encryption with platform managed key. That means this is coming from Microsoft, so there is that one there. And there's an Azure Disk Encryption, which is our own custom key that we have applied. That means there is at the moment now double, you can say double kind of encryption that is currently running, so that is protecting your data. And that is the extension that will be applied just like I've shown you for the client 01. There you go. So this is the Azure Disk Encryption. What this will look like in the OS, that's what it is here. You'll see that the C drive is encrypted, and as well as the D drive. Hang on a second, that is for the client OS. Alright, so the C drive is encrypted, and the temporary storage, which is the S drive, and this is the actual domain controller. Yeah. Alright, so as you can see that we have C and S drive encrypted, and in this video we have demonstrated that we are using our own custom keys to protect and encrypt the data, And that was the practical for now. I'll see you in the next video for a few other tutorials. Cheers. Bye.